Good morning, class. My name is Corporal Nieves. Today we're going to be going over 071-Charlie Oscar Mike-0018. That is determine grid azimuth using a protractor. Before we get into the class today, we're going to go over a couple things. First thing is the deliberate risk assessment. So, although we're in the classroom setting, we're not doing anything too active. It's still important for us to remain hydrated. So please have a water source at all times. In case of a building fire, we will all exit the building and consolidate outside near the road. Since we are in a building, there's a lot of electrical outlets, so just please be mindful of where you guys are stepping with electrical cords and all that. Nobody wants to slip and fall. And lastly, in the case of an active shooter, we will practice the run, hide, and fight method. Okay, and before we get into this class, we are going to conduct an initial PCC PCI, so if everyone can take out their protractor along with their paper, pencil, and their 1 in 50,000 scale map. Alrighty, and now I will inspect these items individually, and I will check them off on the PCC PCI checklist. At this time, we'll be conducting the class. So again, the task number is 071-Charlie Oscar Mike-0018. Conditions: you are a member of a squad or team that has received an order requiring movement. You have been directed to determine the grid azimuth from the starting point and ending point designated in the order. You have a 1/50,000 scale military map, a military protractor, a pencil, and paper. Some iterations of this task should be performed in Mach 4. Standards: identify the starting point and ending point on the map. Draw a straight line on the map connecting the points, align the protractor to the map, and determine the value of the angle. There are no special conditions and the safety risks are low. Side note, we will not be doing any of these iterations in Mach 4. Are there any questions at this time? All right, moving on. Performance steps. Performance step 1, identify the starting point alpha on the map. Number 2, identify the ending point Bravo on the map. Note: when measuring azimuths on a map, remember that you are measuring from a starting point to an ending point. If a mistake is made and the reading is taken from the ending point, the grid azimuth will be 180 degrees off, thus causing the user to go in the wrong direction. Step 3, draw a straight line on the map connecting the 2 points. Note: to ensure an accurate measurement, the line should extend past the starting point and ending point. All right, so now looking at my map, here is our alpha point, so our start point, and here is our end point, which is our Bravo point. So now what we want to do is take our protractor. This is the easiest way. You want to make a nice straight line from alpha to Bravo. Again, you want to extend the line as far as possible to get an accurate reading. Step 4, align the protractor to the map. Note: when using the protractor, the baseline is always oriented parallel to a north-south grid line. The 0 or 360 degree mark is always toward the top or north on the map, and the 90 degree mark is to the right. All right, so now we are going to align our protractor with our map. So looking at our map here, at the bottom here, it shows that north is facing this way. So therefore, we got to look at our protractor, locate where north is. So north is right here. So now, we just got to make sure that our protractor is facing the same way that our map is. Thus, showing that the 0 or the 360 degree mark is parallel to the north-south grid line. Note: the grid azimuth is a degree/mils value where the azimuth line crosses the protractor scale. For alpha, place the index of the protractor at the start point where the drawn line crosses a vertical north-south grid line. For Bravo, align the 0 to 180 degree line of the protractor to the vertical grid line while keeping the index in position. Okay, So now, looking at our map, we are going to place the index of the protractor at the point where the drawn line crosses the vertical north-south grid line. So the index of the protractor is right here, right? The center of where the vertical and the horizontal line cross, sorry. So now we're going to go to our start point, which is located right here. So we're going to take the index, the center of the protractor, and align it directly center of where our start point is. So at this time, we have the 0 to 180 degrees. So from here to here, we have it aligned on the vertical grid line. You can cut it. Step 5, determine the value of the angle grid azimuth from the scale. Note, the grid azimuth is the degree/mils value where the azimuth line crosses the protractor scale. 5 alpha, identify where the line crosses the protractor scale. 5 bravo, read the value, degrees or mils, where the line intersects with the scale. Note, this value is the grid azimuth. Okay, so now, again, looking at our map, we're going to identify where the line crosses the protractor scale. So the line that we drew in the beginning. So now we can trace this line and we're going to follow it until it crosses a degree or a mils line. So it looks like it crosses at 317 degrees. So that'll be your grid azimuth. Alrighty, so now that you guys have been giving your demonstrations, are there any questions? Alrighty, well, if there's no further questions, at this time, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to practice. Alright, go ahead and begin. Alright guys, you guys' 5 minutes of practice is up. Is there any further questions? No questions? Okay. So at this time, we're going to be moving into the evaluation phase. Before we move into that, I'm just going to reiterate the task conditions and standards. So the task number is 071-Charlie Oscar Mike-0018, determine grid azimuth using a protractor. Conditions: you are a member of a squad or team that has received an order requiring movement. You have been directed to determine the grid azimuth from starting point and ending point designated in the order. You have one 50,000 scale military map, a military protractor, a pencil, and paper. Some iterations of this task should be performed in Mach 4. Standards: identify starting point and ending point on the map, draw a straight line on the map connecting the points, align the protractor to the point, or to the map, and determine the value of the angle. There are no special conditions, safety risk is low, and again, we will not be doing any of these iterations in Mach 4. All right, class, your 5 minutes of practice time is up. At this time, are there any questions? All right, well, if there are no questions, then we will begin our evaluation phase. But before we go further into the evaluation phase, I have to reiterate the task conditions and standards. So the task number again is 071-Charlie Oscar Mike-0018, determine grid azimuth using a protractor. Conditions: you are a member of a squad or team that has received an order requiring movement. You have been directed to determine the grid azimuth from the starting point and ending point designated in the order. You have a 1/50,000 scale military map, a military protractor, a pencil, and paper. Some iterations of this task should be performed in Mach 4. Standards: identify the starting point and ending point on the map, draw a straight line on the map connecting the points, align the protractor to the map, and determine the value of the angle. Again, there are no special conditions, and the safety risk is low. Again, to reiterate on the side note, we will not be doing any of these iterations in Mach 4. Alright, at this time, I will be evaluating one soldier to determine the grid azimuth using a protractor. So now, after evaluating the squad on determining a grid azimuth using a protractor, all soldiers are a go, so all soldiers are trained. At this time, I will be doing a PCC and PCI check on all our gear. So again, if you guys can pull out your military map, your protractors, pencil and paper, and I will be inspecting those items individually. After we conducted the last PCC and PCI, we are now going to conduct our AAR. So before we go into our AAR, I would like to iterate for you guys to please be respectful toward one another, please don't talk over one another, and be mindful of what people are saying and just respect what people are saying. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is what was supposed to happen. So what was supposed to happen was I was supposed to brief you guys on the deliberate risk assessment, conduct an initial PCC and PCI. I stated the task condition standards for determining a grid azimuth using a protractor. After that, I gave you step-by-step instructions on how to complete the task. I also gave you guys 5 minutes on practicing on determining the grid azimuth using a protractor. I then asked questions. Since there were no questions, I moved on to the evaluation phase where I evaluated a member of the group, and you guys are all proficient or all trained, so congratulations on that. I then reported to my leadership that everyone was all trained as well. Let's see. Okay, so after that, we finalized the last PCC and PCI checks, and now we are conducting our AAR. So now that we talked about what was supposed to happen, let's talk about what actually did happen. Okay. All right, next we're going to talk about what went right and what went wrong throughout this training event. All right, thank you. And lastly, how do I improve training for next time? All right, thank you for your guys' feedback. All right, so to summarize the AAR, we talked about what was supposed to happen. So I went through the outline of what did happen today. You guys gave your feedback on what did happen. You guys also gave me your guys' opinion on what went right and what went wrong. And you guys also expressed the different ways I can improve for the next training. So lastly, before I close out this training event, were there any injuries throughout this training? Okay. Were all control measures implemented effectively? Since there's no questions, then all my controls have or were implemented effectively. So, before I let you guys go, I'd like to thank you guys for participating today. Before I release you guys again, I'm just going to go over the paperwork and make sure everything's correct. Alrighty, well, this concludes all my paperwork. You guys are free to exit the training event. So SGL, this concludes my training event. I now have permission to close out the site. Good morning, class.